This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR Steelers Nation Radio.
You're hot.
Welcome to The Drive. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. We are live here at the NFL meetings in Orlando at the Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah, it's still hopping.
Another beautiful day, still hopping. Lots of stuff happening here over the last 24 hours. Yesterday, Steelers GM Omar Khan met with the media. We talked to him a little bit. This morning, the league passed the new kickoff rule.
Yeah, how about that?
29-3 vote. And so the way this is going to work, Matt, and I just want to let our
Steelers also signed 3 people, but since we talked
the Steelers did that,
right,
well, they didn't sign them. They agreed to terms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Semantics.
Now, I get
Semantics.
it. Right.
So
kickoff rule. This is
how it's going to work. The move will dramatically. It's not going to look like anything like it did before.
No, it's going to look like a different sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the past kickoff rule features new alignments for both the kicking and receiving units. There's a landing zone area between the receiving team's goal line and its 20-yard line.
It's like the red zone is the landing zone. Yeah.
That would prompt the action of the kickoff if the ball were to land it in that 20-yard area.
It doesn't matter if it rolls out. I mean, all that stuff changes. It has to land in there, right?
So the kickoffs are going to remain at the 35-yard line. The kicking team will still be scrimmage. He'll still be at the 35.
Okay, but his teammates won't.
The 10 players in the kicking unit will line up on the opposing team's 40.
Okay, so there's a big gap between those two.
Yeah, well, a 25-yard gap, as it were.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
25 yards, yeah. The receiving team will line up with at least 7 players in the setup zone. Mm-hmm. The setup zone being a 5-yard area between the 35 and 30-yard lines on their side of the field. So there'll be 5 to 10 yards between those 7 players, at least 7 players
there'll be
in the receiving
10
team.
kickoff guys versus 7
at least
return
7
guys. At least
you can have more than that, yeah.
5 yards apart.
And there's a maximum of 2 returners that can line up in the landing zone, so inside the 20.
Gotcha. Okay, I didn't understand that part. Okay.
Yeah. After the ball is kicked, the kicker cannot cross the 50-yard line.
Ever, period.
And the 10 kicking team players cannot move until the ball hits the ground or a player in the landing zone or goes into the end zone.
Yes. See, that's a little sticky to me because the same thing's true. Well, I'll let you read it, but the same thing's true for the return team.
The receiving team's players in the setup zone also cannot move until the kick has hit the ground or a player in the landing zone or the end zone. The returners may move at any time before or during the kickoff.
So the returners can move around as much as they want.
I would think that you would come up with some kind of keywords. Like I know, so
because I don't want my return team front 7 looking backward.
Right. So what you would have is probably have your guy who's farthest back, but closest to the other 7, your other players on.
Or maybe there's a guy in between, like a midfielder.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
you have a guy
2.
Yeah.
And then maybe 2 in the
middle.
And
that guy the guy who's in the back watches the kickoff, and as it's caught, he yells fire or something like that.
Yeah.
And everybody fires out.
Okay.
That was so when I coached baseball on a drop third strike. Especially when I was like first teaching that, the kids didn't know to run on the drop third strike.
I would think not, right? Probably happens a lot when they're young.
As the third base coach, I would just yell fire, and they knew you just take off running.
Okay.
That way they're not looking, or they swing and they're not looking back at the catcher. You know just to take off.
And they do stuff like that on punts as well, like get away from the ball, that kind of stuff too. Like there's all these code words for that.
There's a little graphic here that Tom Pelissaro tweeted out that kind of shows you.
But it looks like Danny or whomever, any special teams coach, has some flexibility
of how many guys you can put in the box.
4 of his dudes. You could put 1 in the zone. You put 2 in the zone.
Probably want to put 2 in the zone.
I would
just
think
because,
unless you have one good return guy, then they'll kick to the other dude.
Yeah.
And then those other 3 you could put in the midfield. You could put them up high. You could put them down low. Okay, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
See, a couple things I think are not a problem, but just kind of stick in my mind.
There's some other things with this.
Oh, I know. But just what we were talking about, like as the return team front line, it sounds great to yell fire, but I'm in Baltimore and
right.
I might
you
not
don't
hear,
know.
you know what I mean?
That's
right,
why I think you have a chain with that.
Yeah.
Or a signal or something.
Because my opponent's only 5 yards away from me.
Or maybe
they're going to leave as soon as it touches
you do it so you have one of your guys on the sideline. Everybody just watches the sideline and somebody.
And and you run. Okay. Yeah, you got to work that out because you don't want to be laid off the ball with a guy only 5 yards away from you.
Right.
Right.
So penalties on scoring plays also will not carry over and will be taken on the point after attempt. So before you could, say if somebody jumped offside.
On the extra point or
we're
two-point.
going to choose to take it on the kickoff.
You can't do
that anymore. You have to take it on the point after, which
Okay.
could lead to more two-point tries.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, that's a ripple effect.
Yeah. Any penalty that carries over to a kickoff, the setup and landing zone, which I guess would be like a personal foul or something like that, on the point after attempt. The setup and landing zones will not change, nor will the alignment of the 10 kickoff team players and all of the receiving team players. Only the kicker's positioning move. So
if this would bump back,
if you move up to the 50 because of a personal foul, they're still
stay where they're at.
And the kicker can't go past the 50.
Okay, gotcha.
In kickoff scenarios, kickoffs that hit in the landing zone must be returned. There's no more fair catch.
No fair catches, yeah.
Okay. Kickoffs that hit the landing zone and then go into the end zone must be returned or downed by the receiving team. If down, the receiving team gets the ball at its own 20.
But that's risky. If I'm a returner, I'm like, I think that's
because they're much closer now.
Yeah. So you better be pretty sure it's going to go into the end zone to kneel on it, or you're going to get blasted, right?
Kickoffs that go into the end zone and stay in bounds that are down would give the receiving team the ball at their own 30. So if it rolls in and stays in bounds, you get it at 30. If you kick it through the end zone, you get it at the 20.
If you kick it through,
if it lands short.
Oh, okay.
And rolls through the end zone, you get it at the 20. If it lands short.
If it lands in the zone,
but then stays in play.
Yeah, okay.
You get it at the 30. Kickoffs that go out of the back of the end zone in the air would also go to the 30-yard line.
I know they penalize if you just get the driver out and crush it.
Yeah. Kickoffs short of the landing zone would be treated like a kickoff out of bounds, and the receiving team would get the ball at its own 40. So you have to get the ball in that 20-yard area.
Yeah.
If you kick it to the 21, they're getting the ball at the 40.
I think there's no squibs,
That's what it would take out of the game would be the squib.
Yeah, there's no squibs.
There's no squib kicks. The legislation also would tweak onside kicks, which can only occur in the fourth quarter and onward, and can only be done by a team that's trailing.
You're losing fourth quarter. I guess you don't have to say we're going onside, but it's
you do. The kicking team must declare its intent of an onside kick because that changes where everybody aligns.
So that's not. No one's ever going to recover an onside kick, but they don't now anyways.
Yeah, it's like 3 all of last year.
Yeah. I mean, it's really a low percentage play, and it sounds like that's not going to change.
Now, this rule is only in place for the 2024 season. They'll review it again in 2025. I would expect they'll probably at the very least tweak it a little bit, and then
it's on a 1-year prove-it deal.
Yeah.
So I think it's still true, and I think you said this. If the kicking team kicks it out of bounds, it's the same as it is now.
It's
goes
at the
to
40.
Okay. I'm fine with it. I mean, it seems convoluted, but I think we'll get it
down
quickly.
It's going to be weird the first few times that they do it.
It'll look weird initially, and then I just wonder, will some smart coach come up with some loophole?
There'll be something that somebody comes up with. I mean, that's just the reality of it. But I think all the league special teams coaches got together on a conference call and talked this through to a certain degree. This has changed from what it initially was.
Yeah.
It's just some minor
tweaks. Is this exactly what the XFL does, or don't you know?
I think it's a little bit.
It's very similar.
It's similar, but I think there's some tweaks.
Okay. So a couple things I wanted to bring up about it is I don't think it's an issue, but I'm not an NFL place kicker. I know they all have a driver and they can kick it out of the end zone, more or less. I assume all of them can pull out the 7-iron and drop it in that 20-iron. I mean, that's probably not difficult for them, right? I mean, I would imagine they can control it well enough. I mean, it's a 20
when
by
you get
55.
into windy situations, that's where.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to place it in corners.
Right. Because if it goes out of bounds, you're going to the 40.
Especially if I'm a returner and like this might take a bounce and go out of bounds, and I get it to 40. So that's interesting. I'd be interested if I'm a returner though. Do I ever want that ball to hit the ground? Because it could go really badly for me.
It could go, Well, I mean, that's kind of the way it is now.
Because they're on us pretty quick.
Yeah, that's why you put 2 guys back there. I mean, as it is now, most teams put 1 guy back.
Yeah.
And that's where the teams kick directionally and just kick it out of the edge, and the guy can't get there in time.
Okay. So the other 2 things, and I brought this up, and I'm not trying to be funny, but when it's a windy day and Lucy goes back and holds the kick, you're at a huge disadvantage. I mean,
I don't know about huge. If they got 2 guys back,
isn't it 25 yards behind his buddies?
Yeah, but they've got 2 guys back to return.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume most teams will do that.
Yeah.
So it's even up front then.
Yeah, but instead of running down with my 10, I'm running down with 9.
But they've only got 9 blocking.
Yeah, but I usually have 10, now I have 9.
Okay, this one goes. This one goes to 11. They still have. You still have the opportunity to tackle the player, or you pop it up higher.
Of course. But I'm just taking one of my tacklers and moving him way off the ball to hold this thing.
But they're taking one of their one of their potential blockers, and he's on the other side of the field potentially to return. May not get there in time because
Agreed.
those guys are there.
So, and then you mentioned the special teams coaches. I don't envy their position.
I don't. Not at all. Not at all. We're going to see Danny Smith in OTAs, in mini camps, in training camps, working on this a lot.
And I assume Coach Tomlin and other head coaches will give his special teams coach a little more time than they usually.
Maybe do a little bit more, yeah.
Because, I mean, otherwise you're taking away from the punt team or, the other stuff
the stuff that you have to do.
The other main
That's the one thing. I don't
right.
know if fans who haven't been to training camp practices understand how much special teams work.
And how little time they really get,
yeah.
too. I mean, how many different players they have to coach up.
Especially in training camp.
When
you got 90 guys, and you're working all – because they're all going to – these 15 to 20 guys aren't going to be on special teams at all.
Sure, Russell Wilson's not one of them.
But the other 70 players who are on your roster are doing something on special teams.
And they're all trying to stand out. And they're all trying to keep me, coach.
Those drills that Danny does where he has the guys practice coming down and running through the gauntlet and then hitting the guy with that's a massive line that they're going through.
There's a lot of human beings running through there, right?
Yeah.
So your guys that make the team don't get as many reps as you think, too. So that brings me to this, too, is okay, so usually he can go into a special team session and be like, well, Killebrew knows everything. I don't have to coach him up. Well, now you got to coach him up at least in one phase. Or, two phases.
If you're a smart guy, you should be able to pick this up pretty easily.
Of course, but you've never done it.
It's just something new. You'll figure it out. But as you said, there are going to be some nuances to this.
Yeah, I'm wondering where the loopholes are. Like, what coach is going to come up with something clever? And
Belichick's not around anymore.
No, he's not around anymore.
And Vrabel's not in the league. So
yeah, that's true. Well, he's a brownie.
Yeah. So somebody's going to come up with something. I don't foresee. I don't know what it's going to be. But I do believe that this is going to have more teams starting at their own 40.
You think? I think there's going to be more returns for sure.
There'll be more returns, which are more exciting. But you should get more. You should get better field position out of it.
I would think.
Which should lend itself to more scoring.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting here thinking, if the ball is set to land in the landing zone, that 20. I would think many returners could at least get it to the 20 or 25.
Yeah.
But they don't have the tacklers don't have as far to run either.
Right.
But they can't leave as early.
Yeah.
So okay. There seems like there's no advantage to hitting a really high pop-up because nobody can do anything until the guy touches it anyway.
That's true, unless you've got the guy holding the ball.
Well, yeah, that would help. But still, you can't move until somebody touches.
Well, I would assume he can get up and start going to the 50.
Maybe.
I would assume.
I don't know what.
That's not addressed here, but I
that's
assume
a weird.
Once he gets up, he can work because the kicker, I assume, once he kicks the ball, can go to the 50. Okay. Those guys in the front, from what this says, can't move. So the guys who are in the zone.
Yeah. The kicker's never allowed to leave the 50, though, right?
Yeah, he's kind of the safety on the back end.
Okay, so only on a
which is actually good because we've seen some kickers get hurt on these things.
I think that's a good rule to keep kickers healthy. I like that part.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they can't participate, but right.
I wonder if this changes the players that you want to put on punt or kickoff coverage. Do you want?
I was thinking that too.
Do you want more speed? Maybe you put a couple of offensive linemen out there.
That's what I was thinking on the return team.
Because there's no, it's a 10-yard period. You're just running. It's not like they're running straight at you and the little guy can dodge him.
Right.
This is a situation where I could put an offensive lineman out there, all my tight ends out there, and put some big bodies and get a wall.
Here comes a 10-man wall of tacklers.
Yeah.
And I only have 5 yards for them to juke me. I definitely want the Darnell Washington.
If I got a couple of really athletic offensive linemen that are good at hitting guys on the move,
right,
put them out there.
You might drive them into the seats. You know what I mean? If you get
some of my defensive line, when Brett Kiesel used to do that
comes
stuff.
To mind. Okay.
You get a really athletic big man and put him out there on that. Just run behind him.
Tight ends like crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe fullbacks, things like that too. Okay.
So that changes some of the body types that you'll see out there, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that's an obvious effect is you're not going to just throw Joe Blow back there as your returner either.
Yeah, this is going to actually
prioritize that.
Right. And I wonder if you go for a running back type, or you go for more of a speedy type wide receiver who can jitterbug there.
I'm sure people know this, but as a rule of thumb, punt returners are jitterbug, make the first guy miss.
See, this to me is more like a punt return.
It seems that way too.
Because they're closer.
Because
You're starting closer.
Yeah. So maybe you don't want a tackle breaker, 220-pound running back that takes a little while to get head of steam going.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I do think, like, if I'm a 5th, 6th round running back, scat back, returner type in this draft, I'm pretty happy about this rule.
Yeah.
Like, I might get drafted a round earlier.
Yeah. Like Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin really hasn't been a kick returner much for the Steelers. But
that was actually my next question.
Now he might be.
Who would your return guy be that's currently on the roster?
I mean, he's your punt returner. I think you just use your punt returners now.
Okay. You don't think it's a back, it's a McFarland type?
I think.
Yeah. I mean, you better be sure-handed because you got to feel it.
You got to be able to catch the football first and foremost.
Right. Just like a punt.
But secondly, then you want to be able to have somebody that gets up to speed quickly and can make a guy miss quickly.
I think you have less time to get your acceleration to
because back in the day, the guy would catch the ball. He'd have 20 yards to build up his, or at least 15 to 20 yards to build up his speed.
That's why you want a big guy that can break arm tackles
now,
with acceleration.
They're going to be on you pretty quickly.
Yeah, they will. Okay, so maybe you want Antonio Brown type guy back there. Interesting.
So that's good.
There's a lot of thought.
Different dynamic, but that's the new kickoff rule. That's one of the new ones passed. You mentioned, Matt, that the Steelers have some guys that they agreed with. We're going to take a break, but we'll come back. When we come back, we'll talk about those guys and what Omar Khan had to say yesterday. We'll do that. When we return, you're listening to The Drive here at the NFL Owners Meetings. He's Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. We'll be back with more right after this.
This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR Steelers Nation Radio.
Guys are hot.
Welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, we had a chance to sit down. The Pittsburgh media had a chance to sit down with Omar Khan, the Steelers general manager, yesterday late in the day. And he actually broke some news.
Yeah, let's go through it.
The signing or the agreements of Quez Watkins,
the
wide receiver from the Philadelphia Eagles. Also, Dean Lowry, defensive end, who was with the Vikings last year but has spent most of his career with the Packers.
Yeah.
And then quarterback Kyle Allen, who was with the Bills last year, as their backup. But people would know him more with the Carolina Panthers.
He had a pretty extensive season with them.
Yeah.
Where he was on, pretty much a full-time player.
He was kind of their starter for the year. Yeah. So a quarterback, a defensive lineman, and a wide receiver.
So, needless to say, these aren't earth-shattering moves. These are not Patrick Queen. I mean, these aren't game-changing moves. But churning that bottom of your roster and having reliable players in those positions at a good price is an art. I mean, that's an important part to roster building, and these guys fit that mold. I don't know this for certain, but I would think, and I haven't seen their contracts, they're not even guaranteed to make the team. I mean, if somebody blows your doors off or they're not what you think they are, you get out of it, you move on. There's probably not much of a dead money or that type of thing set up with these guys. I'm just guessing. But Watkins, to me, is – let's go one by one. I mean, Watkins is a speed guy.
Speed guy who's – it's like 64% of his career snaps have come in the slot.
Yeah,
but he's also played some outside.
He has.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to say is I profile him more as an outside guy.
Yeah,
speed
because
guy.
of the speed, yeah.
He's a little over 6 feet. I mean, he's not a huge dude, but he's built for speed.
A 4.35 guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I think because they had Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, maybe he kind of got relegated to the slot.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's done 2/3 of his snaps there is great. He's caught just under 100 balls over his career. but he's dangerous. And
about half of his career receiving yards have come after the catch.
Okay, I didn't know that.
He's
but that adds up
he's a
100%.
guy that I catch the ball and I run by somebody. If you remember, a couple of years ago in the preseason, he got Trey Norwood. He
exactly.
ran. Trey took a bad angle on him and zoom. Watkins is off to the races.
Okay, so that's the first I heard that, but it adds up because there's different ways to generate after the catch. You know, A.J. Brown catches a slant, shrugs a guy off, and then takes it. Where I think he runs by somebody, you hit him in stride, in the last 40-yard, he dances into the end zone, and that's after the catch. I mean, he's a true speedster. But the fact that he's not just outside the numbers is appealing to me. Obviously, Andy Weidl's familiar with him with his Eagles ties, and they must have liked him. I don't know if he has any special teams acumen. Maybe I know he returned in college. I don't know what he did in the Eagles. I don't think he's a rundown attack.
He could be a guy that could be your
kick return guy. That's what I was thinking, too.
Yeah.
Right? That's our previous conversation. So I don't know about you, but the way I view the receiver room right now is Pickens is a starter.
Yes.
There's still a hole. I mean, there's still at least one hole. But I look at Jefferson, Austin, and Watkins now as if one of them turns into a quality 3, I think that's pie in the sky. But I think all of them are above average 4s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe they fight for spots. Maybe they're pure depth.
I mean, Watkins was the 3 on a team that went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know, that was his role in Philadelphia. He started quite a few games. He started 25 games in his career out of the 40. He hasn't missed any games in his career with injury.
Right.
Like he didn't start right away. He was a 6th-round draft pick of the Eagles. He broke into the lineup late that season, and basically hasn't missed a game since.
And he's not really a finesse guy. I mean, you'd think a lot of these speedsters are track guys and with pads on, but he'll block a little bit. He does some contested catch stuff. I mean, he'll fight for the football. I think I would give him the leg up of the 3 to be highest on the depth chart if they were to break today.
Yeah.
They're different. Calvin's small, and we know what he is. Jefferson's not as fast as these guys, but he's probably the best route runner.
Yeah.
So they're varied skill sets, and I think right now you have a 1/2 and 3 4s.
Yeah.
Or 3 3.5.
I think Pickens is a 1.
Yeah.
I think he is emerging
as a 1.
I think he's emerging as a 1. Even if you look at A.J. Brown's seasons with Arthur Smith, he didn't have 90-plus catches in those seasons.
No, Corey Davis was very involved.
Corey Davis was very much involved too. Yeah,
right.
It was 65, 70 catches for 1,300 yards because of the run after the catch ability. I think Pickens has some of that ability.
Oh, they showed a lot of it last year.
Yeah.
Clearly he's the Steelers' 1 as it stands. Yeah. If you could get someone equal to him or in that neighborhood, now you're cooking.
You're also, I think, looking at maybe a potential for Pat Freiermuth to potentially be that number 2.
Oh, I think his production's going to spike without question.
And just say that he's our number 2 receiver, and these
today,
other guys are all they're all complementary to what those to Pickens and Freiermuth.
Spokes in the wheel. Yeah. So no, it's a perfect example of lessening your need going into the draft. It's what you're getting. It's a bird in the hand. Hopefully, you could draft or acquire somebody that's a clear 1/2 type guy.
The fact that you got a guy who can play outside, you got guys that can play outside, you got guys that can play inside. Now you can do whatever you think you need to do in the draft. If there's a good slot there, you take him.
Yep.
If there's a good outside there, you take him. Period.
Kind of like we've talked about in the past. Everyone looks at this team, and I'm not just lumping all fans together. Like they better draft a corner. Well, they better draft someone to play the slot.
They need a slot corner.
Right.
I think that's a definite need, and Mike Tomlin has said so when he spoke the other day. But
a receiver, they could take
whatever they want. If there's another Pickens type guy there, they can take him.
Or a Malik Washington from Virginia, you could move him to the slot and move people around. So you do have more puzzle pieces that fit in a lot of spots.
Yeah.
Talk about the other 2 dudes.
Yeah, Lowry to me is interesting. He started a ton of games in his career.
Yeah, he's played a lot of football. Right?
Played a lot of football. In fact, if you look at it, he's 6'6", basically about 300 pounds. He's in his 9th season.
He kind of has the Kiesel Aaron Smith look to him.
He's a classic 3-4 end body type.
Yeah.
And you look at it, he ran a 4.87.
No, he's not a bad athlete, right?
Yeah, he's a really good athlete. Yeah. He's not been a big sack guy.
No.
But I don't know that I don't know what he was asked to do in Green Bay. Were they asked to take on double teams, or were they asked to get to the passer?
I think they're mostly a 3-4-ish. Kenny Clark was the nose when he was there. I mean, he did 1 year in Minnesota last year with Coach Flores,
which was kind of
and he got hurt at the end too. Right?
Yeah, he was playing more defensive tackle in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Whereas in Green Bay, he was playing more outside, on over the tackle.
So my take on him is I think he's a similar move to Amani Watts a year ago.
Yeah.
He's
except Watts could play some nose for you. That was
they're a little bit different.
Yeah.
And Lowry's a little taller, longer, more Aaron Smith-ish. You know. But again, if you would draft one super high, I don't know that he's guaranteed a spot on the roster, but I think he's got pole position to be on the roster.
Yeah, he's more of an established veteran that
you know what you're getting.
You know what you're getting. If you had to line up with him, in Week 17 in Baltimore, it's not going to overwhelm him. He's played a lot of football.
And you couple him with Neal, Loudermilk, Adams as your depth guys, and you can be fine.
Neal's not a depth guy. Neal is
Liao, I meant.
Liao, I see.
I say the wrong name. L, not N. Then you don't have to. My take was I don't think you have to draft one.
If there's one available, same thing with the wide receiver.
Right.
You can do it.
It's a speed bump, but it's not a roadblock.
Right.
So in terms of Rook is here in the third round. I can't believe it. I'm going to run the podium.
Take him. Yeah.
Take him. But if you don't get any, okay, you can live with it. So I like that signing. It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
It's a good depth piece.
Kyle Allen, we've talked a lot about the Allens who are not Josh Allen.
Not Josh Allens, the not-so-great Allens,
But you're not bringing him in as your backup.
No.
He's your 3.
See,
he's fighting for your 3. You're going to still draft a quarterback.
See, that's what I was going to ask you. I was like, I think it's the same
thing.
Or
bring in an undrafted
There's
rookie.
going to be a young guy in
There'll be another
camp.
arm in
There's
camp.
There's no question about that. But I don't think you have to draft one.
You don't have to.
You don't have to. But I think the beauty of him is I don't think he needs a ton of reps to be Kyle Allen on opening day.
Yeah, he's going to be holding the clipboard. He's going to be, your emergency quarterback on game days.
Mm-hmm.
If he beats out
whoever's the
rookie, whoever that fourth guy is, and he's started games in the NFL and had some success.
Yeah, I mean he's not a starter. He never will be. No one thinks he's going to revitalize career here and light the world on fire. He did have 1 year with the Panthers where he started a lot of games.
He was their starter. Yeah.
Pretty much, I think he had like 17 touchdowns versus 16 picks. I mean, it
wasn't
great.
If you remember that season, he started off on fire.
Yeah, super hot.
The majority of those touchdown passes came in like his first 6 or 7 games, and then the interceptions started piling up.
I mean, I wonder if
they probably figured him out a little bit.
They probably went through the league and realized he couldn't hit the curveball or whatever it is. I mean, he's not physically overwhelming or any of those type of things.
But his career pass rating's 82.2.
Yeah.
Which, okay, if that's your number 3.
That's what I was going to say is I think a lot of teams, they have, looked at him as their 2.
Yeah.
And if he's your 3, well, then that's a high-end 3. I mean, he can play. He can get you out of games. He can certainly handle emergency situations. If he has to start for a week, you might be competitive. I mean, it's not just throwing somebody off the strap heap.
Yeah, it's not going to be, we got to go out there and run the ball 72 times because he can't complete a pass.
I mean, frankly, it's not Duck Hodges, coming in there.
Now, he is different from your other 2 quarterbacks. He's not a runner.
Yeah, I don't think he's a stiff, but I don't think he's
not going
to run any of that.
He ran a 4.71 at the combine, but he really he's more of a pocket passer.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
He's not an athlete, creator, tuck the ball and run type guy. If there's something there, he can get it slide and pop up and get you something. But so no, I think that's a good signing. Again, I do think you have to draft a receiver. I don't think you have to draft a D lineman. I don't think you have to draft a quarterback.
Yeah, you don't have to draft. I mean, you can sign whoever now.
Yeah.
As a in. Again, if there's a quarterback there who you really like in the 4th round or in the 6th round, you're like, I can't believe this guy's still there. The kid from Florida State.
Well, he wouldn't even need reps either.
Yeah, you're going to put him on scholarship for the year. Okay.
Yeah, he can still be around.
Yeah.
So we talk about this a lot, and we do a bunch of mocks and things. Like I'm interested in a Rattler or a Pratt or him or Leary from Kentucky or something if the price is right and there's not something screaming at me that I have to have in the draft.
Especially late in this draft.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 5th round, 4th round, something like that. Yeah. However, I also want a lot of preseason reps to go to Fields.
Right. I mean, that's the issue. Yeah. That's why the Florida State.
He doesn't hinge upon that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he's not going to. He's on scholarship for the year. So
I think that's part of this signing is we don't need to do a lot of work with Allen to get him ready to be our 3. So that's just more work for Fields.
The one thing, again, as we talked to Omar Khan yesterday, he was asked about the center position, because that's the one now that's screaming.
I still think receiver is too.
You have enough guys.
Starters,
You have
right.
enough guys there now that if you had to play tomorrow,
Yeah.
you'd be okay. We got enough guys to get us through this game, and we'll be fine. The center position, I don't know that they have that, and that's nothing against Nate Herbig.
I've always thought he's a guard.
Yeah,
I mean, especially a scheme like this that wants a mobile center. That's not really his bag.
I mean, I'm sure he could do it, or Spencer Anderson, or moving James Daniels over to center. Those are things break glass if necessary.
I say you don't do that now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going into camp and you found a guard, you might have a conversation with Daniels saying, "What do you think about moving back to center?"
Yeah.
Or there's a chance they like Spencer Anderson more than our listeners.
I mean,
know.
he'll certainly get opportunities this year.
Yeah.
If they don't do something else at that position.
But I wouldn't be comfortable saying you're the opening day starter.
Yeah.
You know.
And Omar basically said, "Look, we've got everything. All the options are still open. There's still some guys out there that we could sign in free agency.
Yeah.
That we could take a look at. There still may be some trades opportunities that pop up.
Yeah, when he said that, I haven't scanned the league, but what centers could be available?
Well, if somebody takes one of those young centers in this draft, if they get beaten, now all of a sudden those opportunities become available.
Yeah.
Let's say for example, Atlanta takes one.
Oh, then you call.
Yeah.
About their guy, right?
Yeah, then you just call that team about their current guy, and you say, okay, you just drafted one of the because those top 3 centers are going to go pretty early.
Yes, I think they'll all be top 51 picks.
Yeah, right.
On purpose, right?
So if those 3 teams that take them and the Steelers get shut out on that, now you call those other okay, who's available? You start making the phone calls. Who's available via trade?
So I haven't done this homework, but it wouldn't be all that hard to do. I would look at teams like the Steelers that have a new coordinator / new system. Like, hey, we love the center. He just doesn't fit in quite what we want to do. So he walks into a situation that's not best for him. Or I would look at teams that a year from now that have a center with an expiring contract. Like those are the guys you could probably pry away. I don't know what that list is off the top of my head, but it would be hard to generate.
It's center,
right? Yeah,
absolutely. But so there are still options out there. And the other thing that he stressed, he's like, the key with this whole situation, with everything in free agency, is patience.
Yes,
you have to have patience.
I was joking on another airway. I mean, I think Omar's got alligator blood. I mean, he's from Rounders. I mean, it's got alligator blood. He just waits and waits and waits, and eventually he pounces on his prey because I would be so much more anxious and show my hand than the Steelers front office has of late.
I mean, it's like playing poker, as you mentioned.
Right.
You're sitting there, and you don't know what everybody else has. You have a pretty good idea what their hand is.
A real good idea, right. But you don't know their intentions.
You don't know what their intentions are. You don't know if they're going to double down or what they're going to do. But you just have to wait it out and be patient. And at some point, something will materialize that will help solve your problem. And maybe it won't be the ideal solution to your problem.
It might not be a plan A.
Right.
Yeah, right. Plan A probably went and gone in free agency, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought there's a good chance they'd sign a center, but at those prices, I could see why they wouldn't. And we have countless examples, but Joe Hayden's the best one to me. There's a lot of time between now and opening day.
Oh,
when
yeah.
Good
Stuff
guys
happens.
get cuts. Yeah. I mean, you want to be able to pounce on those dudes. Or Connor Williams is back to
all of a sudden,
right.
He's out now. You got video of him running and stuff like that.
Or someone gets cut late you didn't think would be there. So there's opportunities will arise, and I like the word patience you use there. I think that's important in this process.
Absolutely. We're going to get to another break. That's our next step in this process.
There we go, yeah.
But he is Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. We are here at the NFL spring meetings where everything is happening around the league here. Seen a lot of news and notes. But I wanted to get back to draft stuff in the next segment.
Oh, yeah.
We got a little piece here that put out by our buddy Lance Searline on NFL.com ranking the positions in this year's draft.
Oh, okay.
We'll take a look at that. So we'll do that when we return. You're listening to Steelers Nation Radio.
All clear, guys.
is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR Steelers Nation Radio.
Mics are hot.
Welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And as I mentioned there before the break, Lance Zierlein, who does all the scouting stuff and the draft preview stuff, a lot of
Great
it anyways,
work, yeah.
For NFL.com. He put
does
together
all those player write-ups.
Yeah, he does
Right,
the vast majority of them. He put together his rankings of the 11 positions in this year's draft in the order that he believes they fall in terms of strength. And the way he did this year, he said, here's the criteria he used. He said, identified star caliber players, future starters, and overall depth. Generally speaking, he concentrated on prospects who are most likely to be drafted in rounds 1 through 5.
Okay.
And he weighed star players and future starters twice as heavily as overall depth, and his scale ranged from 10 to 30 points.
Oh, wow. He's really technical about
Yeah,
this.
so
Okay.
this is, I wanted to get that out of the way because he puts point values on some of these things. So he has
So
offensive.
he's kind of not talking about it. You could get this guy in the 6th round.
No.
The 6th, 7th rounders, especially in this draft, aren't real strong.
Yeah.
Right.
Offensive tackle, he assessed at 26 points.
That's number one?
That's number one.
Hard
to argue with
I gotta
that.
say, it's an unbelievable
Yeah.
group. I mean, there is depth, but the first round stuff is
Crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
And I can't say it enough, and I don't know if it'll go this way, but the league is giving you red paint, and rarely do they give you red paint. Paint that barn red.
He says he can see at least 7 tackles picked in the first round, with starters still to be found on day 2, and quality depth lasting into the 5th round.
One question I have, and I don't have the answer to this, is I'm sure tackles will fall more than they usually do in the depth world, 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounds. Because teams that take one probably won't take a second.
Right.
I mean, so you pull some people out of the fishing pool, But that's still not a position that falls. I mean, no matter what. I mean, I'm sure they'll get scooped up pretty quick.
At number 2, he has wide receiver at 24.5 points, so not far off.
I would say it should be right there.
Yeah. As he mentions the top of the class, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunzier. But then he says, you start looking at the guys that could be available on day 2, which is where I'm interested here.
Yeah.
Lad McConkey, Roman Wilson, Malachi Corley, Xavier Legette, Troy Franklin, Ricky Pearsall. I mean,
That's a sweet spot.
I'd take any of those guys.
I'd take all those guys. Right. And there's probably even more names.
That group is really attractive.
Yeah. So
for what you're paying for them.
For what you're paying for them. I think day 2 is a great spot to shop for receivers, and there's all shapes and sizes. We talked about the first segment. They could take any type, too. They're not pigeonholed for a slot or an outside. I think there's a chance 2 or 3 receivers will come off the board before any tackles.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably a real good chance. At least one will, I'm sure. How many first-round receivers do you think end up happening? 5?
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the Chiefs at the end
might get
grab
6,
a McConkey or somebody like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, no, it's a great group. I mean, again, go shopping there.
Yeah. He says, even in that day 3, there'll be some prospects that maybe need a little bit of polishing with some stuff, but they're starting caliber players that you can get in that top 100.
Yeah. I mean, even like the Holy Cross kid,
Yeah.
Like he's probably not coming to start, but there's a lot to work with there.
Yeah.
Right.
His number 3 position is quarterback, which is
I agree with that. Right.
I think they're because of the star power that you have at the top.
I mean, his criteria were future starters.
Yeah.
And I think there's 4 to 6 future starters in there in the next 2 years.
He says, I expect we'll see 4 passers go in the top 10 again this year.
Maybe top 4.
Could be. And he said we might even see 4 selected in the top 4 picks.
Okay.
He says that.
Yeah.
The draft is heavier on potential star power than usual. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy. See that there's also potential starters in Bo Nix, Michael Penix, while there's also good depth within that first 50 picks.
Yeah. I mean, a Rattler or something.
But after that, it kind of falls off.
Yeah, I don't want to be shopping too deep into day 3 for that.
Yeah. At 4, this was kind of surprising to me. He has edge defenders.
Really? I mean, we haven't done a ton of
22
work on
points.
them. Okay. I mean, there's probably 4 first-rounders.
Yeah, he has.
I don't think there's any stars, though.
The group has legitimate potential star power with Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, Latu, and Chop Robinson.
Okay.
And then he says there's some guys in that lower round like Austin Booker or Marshawn Nealand or Adisa Isaac. Could be day 2 guys that could develop into solid starters.
We haven't done a lot of talking about the day 2 edge dudes, but it is a decent class. I mean, I'm splitting hairs, but one thing I would argue with them is I don't know that Latu or Verse has a super high star ceiling, where I think the other 2 in the first round might if they hit.
He has cornerback at only 17 points, tied with interior defensive line.
Really? I think corner's a lot better than interior D-line.
Here's the thing at cornerback, and I've had some people ask me about this on social media. There's not the star power
At corner
in this draft, but there's a lot of dudes.
There's a lot of dudes.
It's like the wide receiver position without the guys in the top 10.
Yeah, exactly.
He said, look, players that could go late day one, early day two, Enos Rakestraw, Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry. You'd be happy to get those guys.
Yeah,
early in day two.
TJ Tampa might be in that conversation. There's a handful of them. And again, I think sweet spot wise is another day two position to go shopping in.
Yeah, and I think if you're looking for slot cornerbacks,
there's plenty.
There's a lot to pick from in this group.
They usually go around later or so too.
Yeah,
they're not going to go top of the draft. I am curious, who is the first corner off the board, and how early does he go?
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting part of it.
I bet not in the top 10.
Those the receivers, the quarterbacks, and the offensive tackles are going to dominate early.
Yeah.
At interior defensive line,
that would be low for me.
There are some, if you look at it strictly from a Steelers perspective, with what they're looking for, the guys who are 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", it's slim pickings.
There's not a lot of them, yeah.
If you're looking for a Byron Murphy, you're looking for a Jerzon Newton.
Yeah.
You're looking, Tavondre Sweat. These guys are, those guys are available. Michael Hall is another one of those guys at 6'2".
Yeah, I think he's going to go reasonably high.
Yeah, that don't really fit into what the Steelers would want from a defensive line.
The LSU kid, is it Mingo or Wingo, that was a great tester, but this doesn't really fit the Steelers.
Yeah.
There are more bowling balls types.
Yeah, those kind of guys are available. There aren't the classic Steelers 3-4 defensive ends.
The Forrest Buckners.
Yeah.
Right.
At 7, he has interior offensive line at 16.5 points. That would be centers and guards.
I wish he broke it down into the two, but, that's hard to do. When we do lists, we always do interior too. Because I just think center's a lot better than guard. Yeah,
he says Graham Barton, Jackson Powers Johnson come off the board in the first round as centers who can also play guard. That's what makes that tough.
Yeah, there are
Somebody could see them and, hey, we're just going to put him at guard for a year, and maybe 2 years from now we put him at center.
That's why they lump them together. I get that. I just think the center group is better than the guard group.
He said teams that will be able to go into the fourth round and maybe even round 5 to find future starting centers this year.
See, people don't think of that. There's a lot of our listeners, and I understand
it. But that's future starting centers.
Right. I think a lot of people say they have to get Frazier or Barton or Powers Johnson, and I understand that. If any of them is going to be a pouncy type force, it's going to probably be one of those three.
But you can get Bortolini, or you can get
the Penn State guy's all right.
Yeah,
there's 3 or 4 others that you'll get round 3 or later. That
might
the
be
end
your
of the
guy.
world.
Yeah,
there's a fallback plan there.
Yeah. At 8 is running back with just 14 points.
Yeah,
nobody in the first round.
No.
I think if Jonathan Brooks were healthy,
I think he'd be a borderline first.
He'd be a top 50 guy.
Yeah.
But he's not. And
I don't think any will be off the board when the Steelers pick in round 2.
It's a good chance.
Yeah,
good chance.
I was talking about this on a different outlet that I don't think you want to be. I think running back's going to be a game of chicken that isn't going to really involve the Steelers. But if you're one of the first two,
if you're Dallas,
or
you're one of these teams that really needs one.
I don't want to be the team that picks first. I want to get the 5th back at a discount, and I think there will be, and Steeler fans will love it. Some point in this draft,
run.
There's going to be a run.
Yeah,
I think
you see teams wanting to trade up to get into that run.
Yeah, I could see 8 of them going in 15 picks all of a sudden in the late 3rd round or something.
As he said, there's you probably see 6 backs, as many as 6 backs go in the top 100 picks, and that's how that could work. Run, if that run, let's say that run started at 45-ish.
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be fantastic.
I'm thinking it'd be like 65-ish.
Yeah. Even that would help.
Still be fine.
That helps you with your 3rd round pick at 84.
Absolutely.
If a bunch of those backs start to fall off the board.
Yeah, like when they pick in the 2nd round, I think at most there'll be 1 gone. Let's say there's 0, but when they pick in the 3rd, the next pick,
those 6 guys could have gone.
Gone. Right. Yeah.
So that's interesting. Tied for 8 at 14 points is tight end.
It's pretty rough.
It's pretty rough.
I had a hard time.
And that's with Brock Bowers.
That's with Brock Bowers, the potential top 10 pick. That's a Kyle Pitts, type prospect that's going to go high. I had a hard time putting together 5 that I was thrilled with.
Yeah,
my top 5.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
It was.
Because whereas some of the other positions, like when we were putting together our offensive tackle triple take.
Oh, there was 100 I wanted.
There were first round guys that didn't make the top 5.
Yeah, if
when you're putting together
doesn't make your top 5,
you're putting together your top 5 tight ends.
Yeah,
they're like 6th round picks.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, I don't think either one of us had Mims or Guyton in our tackle list.
Yeah.
But if they were a similar tight end prospect, they would have been 2.
Right.
I mean, easily. Slam dunk. So
no
that
doubt.
just shows.
And then finally, the last 2, safety, 13 points.
You know this better than I do because you do the editing, but
That was another tough one.
Mike Pursuta, you and I do our
That one just dropped today.
Okay, go look that up, guys, because you're going to see more than 5 names on there. I mean, there's a lot of variance in our top 5, and I had a real hard time putting that list together.
There are some guys that I do like in those second and third rounds.
Yeah, I do too.
But they're second and third rounders, maybe even into the fourth round.
The fourth.
Tyler Nubin to me stood out.
I thought he was clearly 1.
Yeah. And I think we all had him 1, and then then it's Dadrian Taylor Demerson or Cole Bishop or Javon Bullard.
The Miami kid Kitchens or the USC kid Bullock were pretty high name, high pedigree guys.
They didn't make my top 5.
I wasn't that blown away by them. They weren't my top 5 either.
And then finally, true linebackers at 11, which again is why the Steelers' Patrick Queen signing
was
huge.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, is that the last one?
That's the last one, 11 points, and you're looking at, he says he believes it's unlikely a linebacker is taken in the top 40 this year.
I can see that. I can see that. Maybe somebody loves Wilson from NC State if he's clean. Maybe.
Pursuta
does, yeah. A&M Kim's intriguing.
Yeah.
And I think there could be a little bit of run on those top guys early round 2.
If you really need one. Yeah. Kind of like the running backs position.
Exactly.
If you have an opening there, you're going to jump on it because it's pretty thin.
And sort of like safety, there's some 4th rounders I wouldn't mind having at that cost.
Yeah, it's developmental guys. But I wouldn't want to have to start them right away. There's like 2 or 3 guys in this draft that I'm like, okay, I could put this guy in my lineup in day 1. He's not going to be a star.
He might be the answer.
But he might be the answer.
Yeah.
Whereas, and then the guys after that are like, okay, he's going to take a year or 2 to develop. Mm-hmm. And that's, do you want to wait on that?
So if you work backwards off this list, the scarcest positions in the draft, but where was the Steelers' biggest splash? At the 11th, the most scarce position.
Linebacker, safety.
Safety was another guy that went outside the organization. They're agreeing with you. I mean, they went shopping so they don't have to go drafting in the shallow waters.
Absolutely.
Go in the deep waters.
Which is smart. It's smart business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how you set up a team well and get the most out of your picks.
Absolutely. So that was Lance Searline's rankings of this, the depth of this draft. Again, offensive tackle number 1, wide receiver number 2, quarterback 3, edge defender 4, cornerback 5, tied for 5th with interior defensive line, which I was surprised was that high. Mm-hmm. It's 7 interior offensive line, 8 running back, 9 tight end, 8 tied for 8 tight end, 10 safety, and 11 linebacker. And that, when we saw in free agency, a lot of the guards signed. Could be the same thing that the league was telling us, like, we got to go get these interior offensive linemen. We're going to have to pay for them this year because the top of the board, especially at guard,
just like
true guard types,
and all the running back movement early indicated they don't want to go shopping here. But the 4 scarcest positions are ones I don't think the Steelers even care if they draft.
Yeah, especially not now.
But as it stands right now.
Absolutely.
Right, so that's good stuff.
Let's get to another break. He is Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive. We are live here at the NFL meetings here and in Orlando, and we'll be back with more. Right? You can watch the show, of course, again on the Steelers YouTube channel as well. Go ahead and check that out. We appreciate you doing it, and also, subscribe to that channel because
absolutely
all kinds of good content on there. Sit-down interviews just from down here with Mike Tomlin, with Omar Khan. Lots of good stuff there available on there. Lots of they do a lot of special programming as well. Just some really fun shows that these guys put together. Gerard and Emil here, they help out with those things. Check those out. We're going to get to a break. We'll be back with hour number 2 right after this.
This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR Steelers Nation Radio.
You're hot.
Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and a lot of stuff happening here right now, and here at the league meetings, everything kind of starting to wrap up here a little bit in terms of all the voting and everything. Mm-hmm. Just had an opportunity to speak with Steelers President Art Rooney II, and he addressed some of the rule changes that happened here. Obviously, the hip drop was one that he addressed and said that was something that ownership really felt just had to be taken out of the game. And he referenced, hey, look, we lost Le'Veon Bell to this very injury for the season just a few years ago, and that was
forgot that.
That's a devastating injury to lose, one of your star players like that, and that's now a play that's taken out of the game.
Yeah, it sounds like the commissioner's about to speak as well. I'm sure he's going to address it as well, and I'm sure there's a long list of injuries from it, and I understand that being a tackler in today's NFL is very difficult, and you don't have as much to work with, but if it's a pretty obvious conclusion that this is a dangerous play, I think you have to do everything you can to get rid of it. And I forgot about Bell.
Yeah, I mean that was one. That was Avantez Burfict. He's running down the sidelines, and Burfict tackles and pulls him down from behind and drops the weight on the back of Le'Veon's legs. And if you remember at the time, a lot of the Steelers players were upset about that,
right? Because
they felt that Burfict tried to injure.
He's got a bit of a reputation too.
Yeah,
and
I think that's one of the things. What they're trying to eliminate, you can still tackle a guy from behind.
Of course.
What you can't do is just completely leave your feet and just let your weight fall
on
the back.
And let all your weight on the stress and the hamstrings and all the body, lower body stuff is just too much. These guys are big and physical, and obviously it's a dangerous game. But if you can eliminate, 10 to 20 injuries per year just from that, well, that's worth it.
Yeah, especially, again, you're talking about star offensive players.
These are guys carrying the ball.
Yeah, guys who have the ball in their hands, and this is the injury that's happening to them.
Mm-hmm. So, no, I think that's an easy one. So that's a good move.
He also mentioned that, of course, the Steelers were awarded Germany as another international area here. So they now have 3, Mexico, Ireland from last year, and now Germany.
Can you explain that to me and the listeners a little bit? I don't quite understand
it gives
how
it
teams
gives
are
the team
awarded
marketing rights for those particular countries.
Okay.
And so they can go in and start, the Steelers will start sending.
Might several teams have Germany?
Yeah, there are a number of teams that have Germany
okay.
already. The Steelers also went into that market, and what it does, it allows you to it gives you a cooperation there, so you can go in and market your team in those areas. It also opens you up then to host games in those areas.
And maybe build some sort of fan base.
Right.
They're more likely to like the Steelers than someone that's not
so
Germany,
for example, the Steelers have had watch parties for Steeler games in Mexico City. They've done it in Ireland, things of that nature. It just allows you to
is it Mexico, Germany, and Ireland now? Or are there 3? Okay.
Yeah.
And does every team have 3? Do you know that?
I don't know that every team has 3. Some have 3. Some have, I think, maybe even a little bit more than that, maybe 4.
Okay.
Some, have 1 or 2. It just depends on, how much marketing you want to do with your team.
And the way you said it, the league awarded it to the Steelers. Okay,
yeah.
We're going to give you now Germany too. Maybe next year they'll get another one, or who knows?
Yeah.
Okay.
He also said that they expect to find out about an upcoming draft.
Yeah, that's
hosting
exciting.
that at the next league meetings, which I believe are in May. So
so there's another owner meeting.
Yeah,
where none of the media and stuff are at. I mean, this isn't the only one between now and
this is the big one.
This is the big one, right?
This is the big one, but they'll vote on the things of that nature at that meeting. So we'll know.
We'll know about the draft to come May, huh?
Yeah,
interesting. And that's for 2026, correct? I think they put in for 2 different years.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's 26 and 27 that they put in for. One of those 2 years is what they're hoping to get. So,
that'd be great.
Because there's a lot of planning that goes into that.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure a lot of our listeners that aren't from Pittsburgh would come to town for that. And, you got to give them plenty of time. And I would imagine we'd be broadcasting down there quite a bit, yeah.
There'll be quite a presence down there, yeah.
Yeah. That'd be fun, though.
Yeah. And, of course, also mentioned that, talked a lot about the kickoff rule.
Yeah.
And said, initially he was kind of on the fence about it, but when he saw it was going to pass, he's like, oh, well, I might as well get behind it here and voted in favor of it. He said, but look, it's going to dramatically change the look of the game a little bit.
Oh, it's going to definitely be a different visual, to say the least. Did he happen to mention anything along the lines of it was close or there was a lot of back and forth on it? Or
there was a lot of back and forth on it, but, the leagues, the special team coaches from around the league came up with this proposal. As I mentioned, they all got on a conference call together, and this was what they came up with.
That's a pretty strong support staff.
Yeah, so it was a 29-3 vote.
Oh, okay.
When
so
it finished off.
So 17-15 or anything like that.
Yeah, nothing like that. So
good.
We'll see how it works this year, and they'll tweak it next year or they'll eliminate it. One of the two.
Mm-hmm. Or keep it as is.
Keep
Maybe
it as
it's
is.
perfect. Who knows?
So
I keep thinking about it. Like, what are the What are the cute little
This is how your
strategies
mind works.
Right. It's just like, well, how can I take advantage of that? How can I, be the best at it in the league where other people don't know? And I haven't come up with it yet, but maybe tonight after a couple cold ones, we'll come up with some good ideas.
So that's kind of the just
that's the news of the day.
Everything
yeah.
that Art had to say about that. He also said, "Look, we've been very busy in free agency."
Yeah, did he talk about the team much?
The next big step here is the draft, and we'll start prepping for that, and I'll continue prepping for that. But that's you start ramping up for this year's draft as a way to acquire more talent for your team. And
the league's about to get semi-quiet here. I mean, it's almost truly draft season where the decision makers are behind the scenes building boards, hosting visits, doing all the medical background, all that kind of stuff. So things are going to slow down here a little before the draft.
There'll be a signing here or there across the league,
but
because there's still some guys out there, a lot of guys out there who are going to play football this year.
Tons of those.
Yeah.
A couple of them will get released that look like they're with teams, and a lot of Odell to the Dolphins talk right now, things like that. There's some big name guys still out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Commissioner Roger Goodell.
I think he's talking as we speak.
He's talking as we speak here about some of these rule changes as well, and just gives a kind of a state of the league kind of address there, and so
sure seems like the league is healthy and thriving.
And also, he mentioned, Art Rooney mentioned that hey, we got the Week 9 deadline.
I forgot about
the
that.
Trade deadline.
I don't think we talked about that on the air. So that's official.
That's official now.
They bumped it one more week.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it will be. That's the Williamson rule.
I would have said 2, but hey, one's better than nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one puts it in the middle, right in smack dab in the middle of the season. You play an 18-week
early
season,
November.
so now you got now you have 9 weeks to assess your team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one more game to at least. Hey, are we buyers? Are we sellers? Do we need something? Are we not? So. I mean, who knows how next year goes? But I keep thinking about how the Steelers have so many day 2 picks a year from now. They could be a team to grab something if there's an injury or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're active at the deadline.
One thing we haven't talked about, Matt, is the NFL this year is going to do a Christmas Day game.
I just got that blurb while you were over there, and it's on a Wednesday.
It's on a Wednesday. So the team that plays in that game on Wednesday. The teams, plural, play in that
one
Wednesday.
game, right?
I believe so. That Christmas game. Their previous game is going to be on Saturday, not Sunday. So they're not going to make a team play Sunday.
I got you.
Come around.
So that's like a Sunday-Thursday gap.
Yeah.
Okay. So there'll be 2 Saturday games?
I
would imagine. Yeah, that makes sense.
You're not playing a doubleheader. Well,
right.
I mean, you could do like Bengals-Steelers and then Bengals-Steelers, but you're probably not going to do that.
Yeah, I guess that's probably not the case. But I hadn't thought of that. I mean, that is a super short week. Pretty sure the wife's not hoping for Steelers on Christmas.
What you really don't want to see is a team that has 2 Thursday night games and also get the Christmas game. You would hope that the league would avoid that. Like the Steelers were one of, I think, 4 or 5 teams last year that had 2 Thursday night games. That was the first time that you've been able to do that.
I would hope you count that Wednesday as a Thursday game.
Basically,
I
would think so. Yeah.
Right, and don't just count it as any old game. I'm sure it's going to be premier teams, though.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think
they're going to want to put it. 2 very good football teams.
Yeah, I doubt
on Christmas Day.
Cardinals, Texans, or Cardinals, Panthers, or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I bet it's
nothing
brand name.
against those franchises.
Well, I'm sure. I'm just looking at ones that pick at the top of the draft. They may rebound strong.
So that'll be fun, and also have those Thursday games. And I didn't even think about this, but Art was asked about those Thursday games and how he felt about it, because last year he was talking about it here because that got approved. He said, hey, we dealt with it. We actually won both of those Thursday night games, so
Ended up being it
ended up being okay.
Yeah, these teams, especially the Steelers, have been very adaptive over the years. I mean, those COVID years, they got moved around left and right, and it's harder than people think. But an experienced head coach, I think, has a really strong feel of how to manage that week. If you give them a little bit of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there'll be no Christmas Eve games this year. There's always Christmas Eve games.
Yeah,
it's a Tuesday.
That won't be a Tuesday night, yeah.
Right.
So Christmas Eve will just be Christmas Eve.
You can actually just be with the fam.
Yeah.
All right.
Like that.
Yeah.
I like that part of it.
That'll be the good news for
I've covered enough Christmas Day games and New Year's Eves and all those kind of things. And Thanksgiving.
Right.
My birthday. And not that anybody cares about that.
Yeah, they're on the edge of their seat about that.
I think one year I ended up doing
there was one year that was really bad recently.
They played a Christmas game. They played a Thanksgiving game. They played on my birthday, and then they played a New Year's game. It was
They had a Halloween one not too long ago, too, from what I remember.
Yeah.
I mean, not that my kids don't trick-or-treat anymore or anything, I mean, but still.
You have a big Halloween party.
We do have a big Halloween party, but that's on a Saturday usually. So every other year. So
Yeah.
I think this is Halloween party year, by the way.
Is it?
You're up. Yeah,
Oh.
last year we didn't.
You're right. You didn't.
Yeah. Maybe we didn't.
And one year, the first one I went to, you were dressed up like the you guys. Your family had a
Was that the Star Wars one?
no, it was the Stranger Things.
Oh,
theme.
yeah.
And you had the full onesie on.
It's like a Demogorgon.
You were the
that was
Demogorgon.
way too tight and way too transparent. It was not a good look. I didn't keep that on much longer. Yeah, that was, hey, welcome to the house.
We saw a lot of Matt that night. And when I say we saw a lot of Matt that night, we saw a lot of Matt that night.
Yeah, that was not ideal. I think that's been retired. That went back to the upside down. Yeah.
Your son might be able to wear that now.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good look. That wouldn't be as tight on him. No, good stuff on the scheduling, though. I mean, I hope the Steelers don't play Christmas, but Christmas Eve will go over well at home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's get to another break here. Maybe we'll get some more news coming out of this whole thing here as we continue to cover these NFL meetings. He is Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on Steelers Nation Radio. And if you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
Please subscribe to the channel. We like that. And you got lots of good programming out there as Gerard mimics me here. I see you over there.
He's been stuck listening to us all week.
Yeah, he's got more to listen to, and we'll get to that when we return right after this.
People saying that I'm crazy. On the low key, I don't need the limelight. Ones who like me ain't the ones who pay me. Yeah, I know this could look a little shady. I've been feeling nice, people try to tame me. But it's good, they don't know who I really am. So I'm getting all the thrill I be chasing. Cause I'm a monster, I'm a monster, I'm a monster. In a place with that many imposters. I'm a monster, I'm a monster.
This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR Steelers Nation Radio.
You're hot.
Welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And, Matt, I forgot to mention when we were talking previously there about what Art Rooney had to say, Art Rooney II had to say, that he said it looks like the Steelers won't be doing any international games this year.
Good for you guys to travel, right?
Which is good news because
I mean, I'm sure it's a blast and it's a great adventure and you know, good for the league, good for the team. But you guys that have to travel with the team it's a pretty big commitment.
Yeah. So the NFL also announced today that they'll do 2 exclusive streaming games this season. And one will be on Peacock Universal, which will do the Week 1 game in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Wow. Okay. Is that the Thursday night or is that the
That's
opening?
the Friday nighter.
So there's a Thursday, a Friday, a Sunday, a Monday that week.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that Sao Paulo game is a Friday night game, and that's going to be streamed on Peacock, NBC Universal.
We know that's the Eagles. We don't know their opponent, though. Is that correct? Okay.
Also, Prime Video, which is where they put the Thursday night games, they're going to do it. They're going to stream a wild card game this season.
Oh wow. Okay.
Which, okay, I mean they're already streaming. People who want to watch the NFL or have access to that.
Okay. I mean, that's noteworthy. I mean, I think you can also get it with the NFL Plus package, too.
Yeah.
I think they also correlate with that, which is how I watch them, yeah.
But the Peacock thing, they did that last year with the playoff game.
A lot of people hated it because they had to sign up for Peacock, right?
I know a lot of people signed up for Peacock and then dropped it right after that. But I did see something that came out that said like 70% of the people who signed up for Peacock just stuck.
Just end up keeping it.
Yeah.
Probably start watching this. I mean, that's why they do it. You start watching a series or whatever, and boom.
Yeah, all of a sudden now you're watching all the Star Trek stuff or something.
Yeah, or whatever it is. Yeah, Yellowstone or whatever it is. Yeah. Cool.
So
as we said, the commissioner's speaking as we speak, and I'm sure there'll be some news out of that.
That Week 1 game also, you'll be able to also see it on NFL Plus. So
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
you can. Those other ones, there's not the only way to do it.
Yeah, so there are different ways to do that. I saw this on NFL.com, and they've Kevin Patra put together some of the trades that have happened around the league. And he graded the trades that have happened thus far in the league.
From both sides, as you give each team a grade.
So the first one on here is the Justin Fields trade.
Yeah.
The Steelers get an A+.
Didn't really give anything up.
Yeah, I mean, from the Bears side of it, they got a D+.
I understand that, but I also think there is value, and this applies to Pickett, of getting the incumbent out of the building. It's a younger guy.
I understand that.
Not that he's a bad guy or he's a problem, of course. But
2025 conditional 6th-round pick, though, for the former 11th pick in the draft is.
I mean, even if it turns into a 4th, is not great, because if it did, it means he played a lot. That doesn't mean he played well, but it means he played a lot.
Right.
Know? So I honestly thought they'd get noticeably more than that.
The Sam Howell trade. The Seahawks got an A-. They got Sam Howell, a 2024 4th-rounder, which is 102 overall, a 2024 6th-rounder, which is 179 overall, and the Commanders got, on the back end of that, they got a C+, a 2024 3rd-rounder, which was number 78, which is actually pretty valuable.
It's not too bad, right, yeah.
And a 2024 5th-rounder, which is 152.
Okay. So if I were to grade all these quarterback trades, including Pickett, including Fields, Howell's another example, I would give a better grade to all the receiving teams. The guys that got the quarterbacks. You've got some talented guys pretty cheap.
Like the Steelers got the A+ for the Fields grade.
Yeah.
They'll probably not get they won't be on the winning end.
Philly will get a better grade than the Steelers on the Pickett deal.
Yeah.
Right. And I agree with that. I mean, all these quarterbacks I think were got for a nice price.
The Mac Jones trade.
Another one. I mean, not that he's great, but he got
Jacksonville gets a B. They get Mac Jones. The Patriots get a C- because they get a 2024 6th-rounder, which is 193 overall.
Okay, well, it's not a terrible pick, but I mean, still, he had to go.
Yeah.
Jones and Fields are only 1-year rentals, though. You know, where Pickett, Ritter, Howe, you get them for 2. You know.
Yeah. The Eagles get a C for the Pickett trade. They got Kenny Pickett and a 2024 4th-round pick, which is 120 overall.
Okay.
The Steelers also have the pick right ahead of that, which is why they were able to make that move.
Yeah.
The Steelers got the 2024 3rd-round pick, which is 98 overall. So you moved up.
Which is a nice pick. Yeah.
You moved up 20 spots in this year's draft.
It's a good spot to be in this draft.
Yeah. They also get the 2025 2 7th-round picks in 2025, which
the 7th-rounders are sort of throwaway picks.
You might be able to turn that into maybe that's a veteran. Let's say you have a rash of injuries again this year. Well, maybe that's your,
trade deadline move,
a guard or something, or maybe you turn one of those into your, make a trade for a center, and that's the second pick that you give up.
And I was thinking too, something that they seem to do pretty well is the next trade that happens, one of those 7th turns into a 5th next year. And it seems like they do a good job gradually moving up at the back of drafts.
The Desmond Ritter trade.
Real quick on the Eagles. I mean, one of the criticisms I heard from Eagle folks were, if you're going to make this trade, why do you make it for Fields?
Right.
You know what I mean? He's more Hurts.
He's more like Hurts.
Right. If you're going to do this, go get Fields instead of Pickett.
The Desmond Ritter trade, both teams get Bs. Of course, the Cardinals get Desmond Ritter. The Falcons got Rondell Moore. That's a straight swap.
That's a great deal for both teams to me.
Yeah.
I mean, Ritter can do Kyler-ish stuff. He's cheap. He's been around the block already. I don't think he's great. I mean, I think accuracy's a real problem, and I'm sure Arthur Smith would agree with me if he gave him truth serum. But it's a cheap backup, and quarterbacks don't grow on trees. Rondell Moore's up after this year, too, so I don't think they were going to resign him.
The Keenan Allen trade, the Bears got a B+. The Chargers got a C-. The Bears got Keenan Allen. The Chargers got a 2024 4th-round pick, which is 110 overall.
Mm-hmm. So, of course.
That was a straight salary dump.
Yeah, that's just a salary dump. I mean, I think I would give the Bears a good grade as he did because they have a rookie quarterback. I mean, he's like as friendly of a receiver as a rookie quarterback could get. And they can inherit the money. I mean, they can deal with the money, but Chargers were in a bind.
The Jerry Jeudy trade. The Browns get Jerry Jeudy. The Broncos get a 2024 5th-round pick, which is 136, and a 2024 6th-round pick, which is 203. This one, so the Browns got a B-, the Broncos got a C. For me, with this one, I would also factor in that the Browns gave Jerry Jeudy a big contract, which they didn't have to do.
Right. I mean, that's not where I would have invested my money if I were Cleveland. And considering some of these other trades that happened, including the Deontay one, the compensation wasn't just nothing either. I mean, it was a 5th and 6th. It's just, something for Denver that wasn't going to pay him. Probably wasn't happy about picking up his 5th-year option they were stuck on. And needs every pick they can get because their roster is really lean.
Yeah, the Deontay Johnson trade. Carolina gets Deontay Johnson and a 2024 7th-round draft pick, which was $240. The Steelers
Which is
get
a real throwaway pick.
Yeah, the Steelers get cornerback Dante Jackson and a 2024 6th-round pick, which was 178. So essentially, you moved up 62 spots,
Which is a lot.
and a cornerback for Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to say, when I saw that on my phone, I was like, wow, I thought they'd get more for Johnson. But I do think a lot of these trades have really screamed to us, if you can move from, 240 to 178, that is a lot of value this year.
Yeah.
I mean, that in itself has more value than people might understand.
The grade here, though, is the Panthers got an A-, the Steelers get a D+.
Okay. And I think the book still needs to be written on Jackson.
Yeah.
See how he fits in.
At running back, the Joe Mixon trade. I didn't like this one at all.
I was talking to a Houston guy last night, and I'm like, I love everything you guys did except for that.
Yeah. So the Texans get Joe Mixon. The Bengals get a 2024 7th-round draft pick, which is number 224.
When they were rumored to cut him right before that,
Yeah.
so they weren't going to get much in return. I just don't know what
They
the
both got
attraction-
Bs.
They both got Bs?
Bs.
I mean, good for the Bengals to get anything, is my point.
Yeah.
And it wasn't much. I just don't know why Mixon was a target, to be honest.
I
with
don't
you.
know either.
I think he's fading quick. He's really been a liability in protection his whole career, too.
Yeah.
You
The
know.
Morgan Moses trade. The Jets get Morgan Moses and a 2024 3rd-round draft pick, which is 135 overall. The Ravens receive a 2024 4th-round draft pick, which is 113 overall, and a 2024 6th-round pick, which is 218.
Wow. That's the first I've heard the details of that, but that's basically getting Moses for free. That's a salary dump, too.
Yeah, I mean,
And a 4th-rounder for a 3rd-rounder next year.
Yeah.
And then you get a late one.
I know, they're all those picks are this year.
Oh, okay. So the Jets got the best pick and the player.
The Jets got a pick 135. The Ravens got pick 113.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood you there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes more sense.
The Jets get a B+. The
They
Ravens,
needed them. They're trying to win now, you know.
The Ravens get a C+ on that.
But they have a hole.
Yeah.
I mean, Macari will probably be one of the starters, or maybe he's the starter there. But they got O-line issues.
The Brian Burns trade.
I like this one for
The Giants get Brian Burns in a 2024 5th-round draft pick, which is 166 overall. The Panthers get a 2024 2nd-round pick, which is 39.
Okay.
They get a 2024 5th-round pick, which is 141, and a 2025 5th-round pick. They got a D-. The Giants get an A+.
I say I love what the Giants did. They also had an extra 2nd-round pick for the Leonard Williams trade to Seattle. It's not that they have extras they can just throw them around, but Burns
39
is
is a good pick in this draft, though.
Yeah, you Dexter Lawrence in the middle and him and Thibodeau coming off the edge. I mean, that's a D-line.
What else we got here? Defensive tackle, the Malik Collins trade.
I didn't see details on this one either.
The San Francisco 49ers get Malik Collins, and the Houston Texans get a 2024 7th-round draft pick, 232.
True salary dump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
B+ for the 49ers, a C+ for the Texans.
Both those teams were really active with their D-line this offseason.
The Legarius Sneed trade.
Yeah.
This is another one where they traded for a guy and then paid him. It was 4 years, $76 million, I believe.
Yeah.
So the Titans get Legarius Sneed and a 2024 7th-round pick. They don't list what the numbers are.
7th-round picks getting thrown in there, yeah.
The Chiefs receive a 2024 7th-round pick and a 2025 3rd-round pick, which is what they would have got.
Yeah, that's a comp pick.
In a comp pick. Yeah.
Except it's an early third.
It's an earlier.
End of third, right.
And there's no guarantee you get a comp pick if you go out and sign a bunch of guys next year.
So I get it. I mean, they just invested in Chris Jones. They've had a lot of success drafting defensive backs lately, including Sneed, and developing.
Yeah.
I don't know who their secondary coach is, but he's doing a heck of a job. So, I mean, I get it. But for a contender, maybe you should have kept him and just let him walk.
Titans get an A-. The Chiefs get a C-.
Titans have been active.
Yeah. The Carlton Davis trade. The Lions get Carlton Davis, a 2024 6th-round pick, which is 201, and a 2025 6th-round pick. The Buccaneers get a 2024 3rd-round pick, which is 92.
Yeah, and again, I don't think they had long-term plans for Davis. Lions are in it to win it, and corner was a big problem, and now they're without Sutton all of a sudden too. So that was before
kind of precipitated, yeah.
Yeah, that was before the Sutton stuff. So they probably still are in the market for a corner, but would have been barren without this deal.
Yeah, they get a B. The Buccaneers get a B+ on that one.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's our final.
And that's it.
That's our final trade.
Been a lot of trades. I bet
there
there's more.
There will be some more coming here.
Yep.
Let's get to another break He's Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on Steelers Nation Radio and on YouTube. You can watch us on the Steelers channel. We are live here at the NFL meetings in Orlando at the Ritz-Carlton. And, we'll be back to finish up the show right after this.
Ain't no gravity moving against us. Ain't no gravity moving against us. Blacked out. Got no air, gonna tap out. Everybody crazy in this madhouse. Gotta make a move for a man down. How did they get into this situation, man? I don't know. Make a bad decision, it's a no-go. It's the end of it, cause I be done with low hopes. Hanging high by threads, saying, oh Lord. Got a broken body, got my cast out. Outcast, but I got some cash now. Make it boom like I'm in a fast car. Ain't no going back, cause I be that far. Everything I said I would've did. Dreams I had from when I was a kid. I bring it to the judges, only his to decide. I live like a boss or die.
This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR Steelers Nation Radio.
Mics are hot.
And we are back here at the NFL meetings here in Orlando. I just wanted to clarify one thing here real quickly. There will be 2 games on Christmas Day.
On that Wednesday.
Wednesday. So you'll have, I would imagine what they'll do is have the 4 teams that are involved will play Saturday and then they'll just flip them.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. There's a lot of football that week.
Yeah. Fix your mic there a little bit.
Oh, okay. Thanks, sir.
There you are.
I assume we'll have Thursday games on the 26th, too, as usual. Probably.
Yes,
probably.
probably.
I mean, no one talked about that, but I assume that's the case.
Right. Christmas travel.
Yeah.
If you're on the road.
If you're one of those teams, right. Yeah, that Saturday's not great for you guys or that Wednesday or that Thursday.
Absolutely not. Former NFL GM Mike Tannenbaum put together a mock draft here on ESPN. I thought we'd buzz through that one here real quick and just see how he views this draft, upcoming draft here this year. So he has the Bears taking Caleb Williams. Mm-hmm. The Commanders taking Drake May. Okay. The Patriots taking Jaden Daniels. And that's, to me,
I don't know if that's set in stone.
This draft starts at number 3.
I think so, too. I mean, I don't know what quarterback's going to go 2, but I know one will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that the Patriots, however, will be drafting in the 3 spot.
Right. I don't think I would if I were them. I mean,
I don't think I would either.
The chances that the organization loves 3 guys is probably slim, but who knows? Maybe they do. I just think I would build O-line and receivers like crazy.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw a 3rd overall pick into that situation right now.
Yeah,
that's
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. At 4, the Cardinals take J.J. McCarthy. That doesn't make any sense.
I assume he's not allowed to do trades, so
maybe
he wants McCarthy to go 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
At 5,
we'll give the benefit of the doubt there because they're not going to draft McCarthy.
5, the Chargers take Joe Alt.
I think that's more likely than a receiver.
At 6, the Giants then take Malik Neighbors.
Okay, that's about as far as. I mean, maybe he could fall to 7 or 8.
With Alt off the board.
But Harrison didn't go yet, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
At 7, he has the Titans taking J.C. Latham.
Okay. I can see that. I mean, everyone pigeonhole Alt there, but he might not fall to 7.
So Harrison still hasn't gone yet in this draft.
Right, which I bet he does.
At 8, the Falcons take Dallas Turner. If I'm the Falcons and Harrison.
I'd still take Harrison.
Yeah, Harrison.
Right. Put him with London and Pitts and those guys, of course.
Then he has the Bears taking at 9, Marvin Harrison Jr.
I'm sure they'd be quite happy about that. Sure, we'll give you the 9th pick.
Okay, Mike. That's why he's a former GM.
Yeah, and he's not really the media savvy type.
At 10, the Jets then take Fashanu.
Okay. If you were them, would you take Fashanu, Bowers, or Adunze in that situation? I mean, they have 2 tackles, but they're old and scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I would understand Fashanu. Don't get me wrong. Bowers versus Adunze, though, I think is an interesting question.
It's an interesting conversation for them, yeah.
Because they have 2 receivers, but can you count on Mike Williams for a whole year? And
right.
Adunze's really, really good.
And Williams is only signed on a 1-year deal.
Right. So you can use a third anyway.
Okay, so he does allow for mock drafts here, or for trades, because he's got a projected trade here.
He's still at the Cardinals taking J.J.
He's
McCarthy?
got the Vikings. So the Cardinals get pick number 11.
Oh, so he had Minnesota trade up for McCarthy.
No. He has the Cardinals getting pick 11. The Vikings getting Kyler Murray and pick number 66.
Oh, okay.
There's a little twist.
Well, that's okay. I mean, it's an interesting way of looking at things. I guess Murray could move. I mean, I know there's a lot of dead money.
A lot of dead money involved, yeah.
It'd be interesting in that dome playing with Jefferson and those guys, though.
And then the Cardinals take at 11 Quinion Mitchell.
Okay, well, they could eat everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 12, chalkiest of chalk, the Denver Broncos take Bo Nix.
Wow, that's becoming more and more of a thing.
Yeah.
You beat me to it, but I've been stealing that for myself, too. I thought I was being unique, and I forgot you had that the week before. I think it fits.
At 13, the Raiders take Talisi Fuaga.
Yeah. Right side O-line's a mess.
Yeah. At 14,
tackles are falling, though, quick.
The Saints finally end the Rome Adunze
there's no way he falls that far, though.
Yeah, to take Adunze at 14.
I mean, I would honestly be on the phone if I were the Steelers if he was at 12, 13 still.
Yeah.
I mean, you put him with Pickens, forget about it.
At 15, the Colts take Terry and Arnold.
Yeah, they fit their mold. I bet they like Mitchell better, just for length.
At 16, the Seahawks take Troy Fatanu.
He'd probably be a guard for them.
Yeah.
Which in a real good one.
17, the Jaguars take Brian Thomas.
I think that's possible, but they've invested a lot in receivers lately.
They
they
just seem to keep gathering as many wide receivers as they can get.
Yeah, I mean, I'd much rather have him than Gabe Davis, but he's sort of repetitive with Gabe Davis, too.
Yeah.
You know.
At 18, the Bengals take Amarius Mims.
I don't think they will take a tackle after signing one. I know it's 1-year deal.
It's a 1-year deal, and Mims.
He could be a guard for now.
He's only played 8 career starts, so I mean, you could give him some time to learn.
He might be the 6-0 lineman as he learns, or something like that. Yeah, maybe.
At 19, the Rams take Michael Penix.
Wow. I guess you could. I mean, he would be the third guy there. I mean, but they need a young quarterback.
Yeah, they do need somebody. I mean, both their guys are old.
I mean, that's 6 quarterbacks before the Steelers pick.
Yeah, that would be great.
You'd love that, yeah.
Yeah. At 20, he has the Steelers taking Adonai Mitchell.
Maybe. I mean, I understand the highlight film, the need. I mean, if he's looking at the Steelers roster whenever he put this out, probably a day or two ago, they were really, really light at receiver, and they still need a guy.
Yeah.
I would not trade the 20th pick for Adonai Mitchell right now.
I don't think I would either.
No.
Here's what he has to say. The Steelers have dramatically overhauled their quarterback position with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. They also recently traded Deontay Johnson and could use a standout receiver opposite George Pickens. Mitchell had a standout season at Texas after transferring from Georgia, averaging 15.4 yards per catch, scoring 11 touchdowns. He can fly at 6'2", running a 4.34 at the combine, and I really like this fit.
I get it, and I don't dislike the fit. I just think it's a little early for him. So
especially with so many other wide receivers.
What you could get in round 2. If you just looked at his highlight film, you would think he might be the best player in the draft. But there's a lot of routes. I'm not saying he's like lazy or anything like that, but he just kind of jogs through them. And I don't know how he's being coached. He's a hard guy to scout, not being able to sit down with his coaches, the people around him at Texas and the young man.
Yeah.
Like, what's the deal here,
Yeah, that's why I didn't have him in my top 5.
He was 5th for me, but
Yeah, I think
he
I had-
seems to be pushing Thomas on some
He'd be at
boards.
6 or 7 for me just because of that.
Yeah. Who was your 5? McConkey.
McConkey, yeah.
Okay.
At 21, Jackson Powers Johnson,
To who?
Miami.
Miami. Yeah, that's a good fit. He wouldn't be a center for them, though.
At 22, we finally see Brock Bowers go. See, if I'm this, if Brock Bowers were available at 20,
I'm taking him over.
I would have
receiver.
no problem with the Steelers because he's a wide receiver.
Yeah, he'd
that's
just
what
be
he
a
is.
big slot. Yeah. It'd make him hard to play against.
Yeah.
But he would never fall that far.
No. At 23, Minnesota takes Johnny Newton.
And they end up with Kyler Murray before, right?
Kyler Murray and Johnny Newton coming out of this draft.
Okay. The D tackle's an issue for them.
At 24, the Cowboys take Byron Murphy.
That's not terrible, but they went D tackle, a much different type last year, and I
Yeah.
think O-line is their
It's a major
spot.
need,
Yeah,
yeah.
they have spots all over the line.
At 25, the Packers take Tyler Guyton.
Be fine. You could develop him a little bit, and he doesn't have to play right now.
Yeah. 26, the Buccaneers take Cooper DeJean.
I don't think Guyton gets past the Cowboys.
I don't think he does
I think
either.
You said that the other day. Yeah. DeJean to who?
Tampa Bay.
Okay. We talked about last segment. They traded Davis.
Yeah. 27, the Cardinals, again, take Lab McConkey.
Yeah, that would be a good fit.
Yeah.
That'd be 6th receiver off the board.
Yeah, right. At 28, the Bills take Xavier Worthy.
It's fine. I mean,
That's kind of Gabe Davis-like.
Yeah, I mean, they could use a take the top off guy. I mean, Samuel's a different type that they signed. I'd be fine with it.
29, the Lions take Leitu, the edge out of UCLA.
I think that's a great pick for them. I mean, they don't need to develop him. They want to plug him in right now and be the guy opposite Hutchinson.
Yeah. At 30, the Ravens take Jared Verse.
Wow. I mean, that's a pretty good value at 30.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm sure they wouldn't hesitate one bit.
I don't see him falling that far. At 31.
These edges really fall.
Yeah.
Because Chop didn't even get picked yet.
Right. 31, the 49ers take Braden Fisk.
I don't think so.
That's pretty early
They
for
also
me.
just traded for Malik Collins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that's what they would
His-
do. Short arms, and they're more traits-based, and they have a great D-line coach.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some traits.
He does. I mean, speed and get off
Yeah.
and athleticism, but right. I don't see that fit.
And at 30, the Chiefs take Jordan Morgan, the offensive tackle out of Arizona.
Could be. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
guard's not a need. Tackle is. He could be one or the other.
Yeah.
Tackle's a problem for them right now.
Tackle is a huge problem for them.
And in a draft like this, if you're a team like the Chiefs, Super Bowl champs, and you can get a tackle for 5 years cost-controlled instead of going out and buying a Donovan Smith or a Taylor like they did last year,
Yeah.
that's a lot more financial sense.
It's a lot of money into,
Yeah.
for a team that has some. They're spending money elsewhere now.
Of course.
But
Interesting.
I didn't love that draft.
No, I didn't like anything about it, barely. There were some interesting things, like could Kyler get traded? I've never heard anybody say that,
I mean,
but that's interesting.
We've talked about this a lot when we've done our mocks. Like, Brock Bowers could go in a lot of different spots.
He could, but, I mean, could the Saints and Colts and teams like that pass
on him? That would be
Right.
tough.
That'd be real tough. I bet Sean McVay would do stuff with them.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I'm just thinking of teams right before the Steelers. The Bengals don't feature the tight end, but if he's sitting there at 18,
But you just look at him as a receiver. Like,
right,
okay.
you're probably going to lose Higgins. Just
Yeah.
get him pass catchers. Burrow will figure it out.
Right, yeah.
I don't see Bowers. I think you go to the Jets at 10. I'd even.
That's my spot.
Yeah, I used to think the Bears were in play, but they have Kmet and they signed Everett.
Yeah.
And they also have Keenan Allen. I mean, so I can see him taking a receiver, but
Yeah.
not Bowers.
Yeah. But, yeah, there's some interesting views on that. And the
Yeah.
Kyler Murray trade is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I don't agree with this mock, and I don't think there's a very good chance that he's close, to be very honest with you. But I do like hearing, I never thought of that fit with that team and things like that, which is kind of cool.
It's just something different.
It is.
Just something different. And, well,
That's a wrap, Jack.
Matt, we're going to come back and do this again tomorrow,
Yep.
our last day here in Orlando. So don't
And that'll
you
be
miss
the
that.
last drive of the week.
That'll be the last drive of the week. We'll kind of wrap up the entire week
Mm-hmm.
in tomorrow's show and talk about a little bit about everything that has happened here this week. And maybe we'll do a little mock draft tomorrow as well.
that'd be fun. Yeah.
We haven't done one of those, and it is time to start gauging in or zeroing in on the draft again, especially after
I bet this place will be
after
calming
the three
down
signings
by
yesterday.
tomorrow. Right.
Or 3 agreements that the Steelers came to yesterday. Kind of closes the door, maybe, except for center.
Lessen some needs.
Yeah, except
yeah.
at center, there's still that. But again, I think until you know what's happening with Connor Williams, you're kind of stuck.
Mm-hmm.
But That's going to do it for today's
That's
show.
a wrap, yeah.
So for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Gerard Schaefer here on site, making sure we get our pretty faces on YouTube. And for
He's
Justin
hanging on
Miller,
every word.
back in Pittsburgh, keeping us on the air here on Steelers Nation Radio. I'm Dale Lolley, and we appreciate you listening to this edition of The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio.
All clear, fellas.